You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley on the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show. My name is Kerry Greenaway and as always I'm joined in the studio by the lovely Mark Manley. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Hey, evening. You're right there.
Oh, you're up in Yorkshire now, aren't you, my darling?
Yeah. We relocated to Yorkshire over the weekend, and I'm the Yorkshire guy with the strong London accent. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. Everything okay? Got all settled and everything?
Absolutely sorted. We have sorted cats running over our heads at 3 o'clock in the morning, dogs barking, children in the bathtub. Teenagers upstairs going, and not doing their room. So yeah, everything's back to normal.
Okay, so usual night in your household. Now, we are joined this evening by the Paranormal Investigators Northern Ireland, and there's quite a few of them. So let me introduce them to you. We have Anthony, Keith, Alan and Mags in the studio with us tonight. So first of all, guys, good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, would you like to introduce yourselves individually and let us know a little bit about who you are and what role you play in your team?
Go ahead, Keith.
Good, Keith. I'm Keith. I'm the founding member of Paranormal Investigators Northern Ireland. Next to me is...
Well, next to you, Keith, is a man so good looking, he once entered a modelling competition and came first, second and third. He's
That's
so
why my camera
scary.
broke.
He's so scary, the bogeyman now only comes out at night to avoid him. He's the self-proclaimed devil's favourite advocate. It's me, Anthony F. Sargent, and the F stands for legend.
Oh my goodness. Alan, how can you follow that, Alan?
I'm Australian. I can beat him. I don't even have to try. My accent tops everything.
This is very true. Well done, you. What part do you play in the team?
I'm one of the investigators. But that's
Max?
probably as far as I go with it.
All
Alan
right.
is the one that hides in the corner.
I'm the Shaggy of the group.
As you can tell, guys, it's going to be a little mayhemic this evening. Already I'm getting a feel for Anthony, that's all I can say.
Oh, stop doing that.
Many a woman has. Many a woman has.
Oh my goodness. So guys, how long have you been going for?
So, in all, Keith and Donna, they were their husband and wife. They started the group about 5 years ago, and it's the past 2.5, 3 years. It's sort of taken off, with getting more people in. We've expanded the group, and we have 10 members. So it's good in the sense because there's some people, obviously we've all got work commitments and children, so if some people can't come to an event or an investigation, there's others that can always do it, so there's always a good contingency coming out.
Okay.
Oh,
So you
somebody
have
died then.
10.
I just...
So you have 10 members, and we also have Donna in the background, but she's may not talk tonight. So I've got 5 of you hanging around in the studio, and another 5 out and about. Where are they out and about tonight?
At home, just. There's only so many people can fit around a table, so
This is true.
we'll pick the best of a bad bunch.
You could actually have like a little mini seance going on around your table, couldn't you, tonight?
How do you know we're not?
Well, you're certainly tuning
Look over
into
your
us.
shoulder.
So, guys, where have you investigated?
Oh,
Right. So
there's a lot.
go ahead, Alan. You talk about some places.
Let me think. Charleville Castle.
Yeah.
Lev Castle. We've done Conway Mill. Queen Street. What's it? Prison? Looted? Wicklow done jail. What else have we done? We've done
Ross Castle,
Ross Castle. Well, he's done that.
Duckett's Grove.
Cooning Cottage.
What do you want? Cottage?
Cooning.
Green Cottage. What's that?
It's a cottage.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm snorting already.
That's just your wine, we know.
So tell us about the cottage. I mean, obviously it's a cottage, but what kind of activity are you experiencing whilst out and about investigating?
Well, at a cottage, you get shadows. You would get a lot of rocks thrown. You would hear footsteps in the forest that's around it.
What's
As well?
supposed to be there? What's like the legend? What's supposed to be there?
It was a poltergeist.
Ah, right, okay. I know about Lev Castle. I know there's been quite a few things there. Out of the investigations that you've done, because I know you've been going, you've certainly been going since 2014. Because what was that incident with the laser pen getting thrown? What was that all about?
Oh, that was in a
That was a pet shop.
that was in a pet shop we did.
So tell us a bit more about that investigation there.
Yeah, that's a while ago. That.
Keith.
Yeah, in the pet shop. It's actually owned by a friend of mine. There were 2 or 3 times we've investigated it. We've come across shadows in the pet shop, and particularly this night, we were walking down the stairs and got to the bottom of the stairs, closed the door, and then we heard a thump upstairs. But we had the camera still running at the time, and the laser pen just lifted up and got thrown to the side. We've got also plenty of photographic footage in there, and video footage. Like we would use, I wouldn't use digital recorders. I would usually go with the old tape recorders.
Oh yeah.
I find them a bit more effective than what the new digital recorders are.
Yeah.
But half of that building was in the Blitz was bombed. I think 3 people was killed in it.
Yeah.
One of them was a child and a mother and father. And in that shop itself.
Oh, unfortunately, there'd be plenty of energy there.
Yes, there's like the pet shop orders coming in the morning, and there's been stuff lifted off the shelves. There's been stuff moved. Even though that's still happening, you know. We've done it on numerous occasions and came up with a lot of different evidence from it, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, out of all your ones, what's been the most? Well, I'd say the one that's got the most evidence, but I know you get lots of EVPs in a lot of your places. What would you say to personally, has been your best investigation then?
Well, and one of my best investigation alone was actually it was an old hall. It was up in I've known it since I was a kid. Up in the outskirts of a place called Dundonald in Belfast.
Yeah.
And the story about this place, it was used for devil worshipping.
Oh, right.
back in the 80s, it was used for devil worshipping, things like that. Now, I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of EVPs from there.
Yeah.
A lot of scary stuff going on it. There's no floor in it. We did set a laser grid up. You probably see one of our pictures there. The laser grid was actually blocked out by the shape of a man standing in the doorway.
Oh, that's what that was about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we got direct answers from EVPs in there. Asked where you were from. They told us where they were from. It was female. There's also a male telling us to leave and get out.
Nice.
We asked him where it was, and he says, I'm in the field in the ditch. Strange ones that got there, but they were pretty clear EVPs,
Yeah.
Compared to some ones that you sort of have to listen really clearly for,
I'll tell you what, I must admit, we were talking a while back and said, because we had a few investigators on the show from Ireland, and we've all said, personally, we'd love to go over and investigate. I want to do Lep Castle. What's your takings on Lep Castle?
Right, I'll go with this one. Right, I would be skeptical in nature of most things. I sort of have to experience it firsthand or see something that is almost indisputable, before I'll believe it.
Yeah, same here.
We were, me, Alan, and Janet, the girl who was out with us on the investigation one night. We were in Lep. There's a girl who does tours around here, Gillian from Spook Troop Tours. She's a medium, so she's clairvoyant and full medium as well. Yeah. She was giving us a walk around, giving us a rundown of the building and things like that, and I started feeling very nervous. When you get that feeling in your stomach, like nerves and sickness, and when you've done something wrong. So we're up in the wake in the Bloody Chapel at the very top. So it's still consecrated ground. The owner actually had his daughter baptised in it.
Yeah.
I said to Gillian, I feel very nervous and apprehensive. And she laughed and says, be careful what you ask for. Because normally I would be the one full of bravado and shouting out and trying to provoke things.
I hadn't noticed.
And what gave it away? So me, Alan and Janet were standing up and we're looking towards the oblette. Okay? So basically the oblette's just a big pit where they had spikes and they used to throw the bodies down, and that's where they left. Now, see, as you stand looking down the oblette, to your left is a window. The window's about a foot wide. It's about 5'10" in height. It's just taller than me. But the brickwork around the window is different from the main brickwork of the building. Yeah. So we're all standing closer to the door looking, and we think we're seeing things, like looking out of the oblette, and I just put it down there. It's your eyes adjust into the dark, you're getting used to things. Yeah. And my knees started getting shaky, and I had that feeling again. And where you would stand and look in the oblette, from the left side, moved across a pitch black shadow, moved from the left side, which is a wall, right into the oblette. This, to me, honestly, I couldn't explain it. If anything, it would be a light source bringing something in, not darkness on it. And it absolutely terrified me because for the first time, I couldn't explain something.
Yeah, so I get you.
And there's just the whole feeling of that building. I don't know if it, the spirits latched on to, me and how I come across, but I felt like it was going to make a point of going for me just to say, I own this castle.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it sounds like he was going, stuff you, mate, I'm the one in charge here.
Yeah, and do you know what? I let him be the one in charge because what I'd seen, it was pitch black. You couldn't even see the different colour brickwork. So you couldn't, and all three of us seen it at the exact same time. And when you have that moment where you all just turn to look at each other?
Yeah.
And I was just like, did you? And before you even finished the sentence, yep.
Because we saw stuff. We saw when we were looking at the oubliette and the window, there was a dark patch of shadow, but it looked like there was something moving in it. So
Well,
that's why.
basically, you guys had a Scooby-Doo moment, didn't you?
Yeah.
I almost had a need to change my trousers moment.
That's the first for you.
Now,
It's usually me.
isn't Leap Castle the one where there's supposed to be an elemental there?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
did you get any experience of that elemental?
no.
Right.
To be honest with you, I think that is maybe a bit of more folklore.
It's a story from the area.
Yeah, it's just something from the area. But
Have you ever had anything to do with banshees or anything like that?
Batteries.
Banshees.
Banshee.
Not
no.
budgies, not budgies or budgies. Banshees.
Well, I'll suppose when I went to investigate Duckett's grave once, and there was a story that was a banshee that haunted the place.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting told that it wasn't true. It was just a made up story.
Ah, right, okay.
I mean, personally, part of the Banshee folklore is, the screaming.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
I think a lot of it is more attributed to animals that people weren't aware of. Like there's a fox's scream can almost sound like a human scream.
Yeah, no, I know that. I mean, I'm a country guy anyway, although you can't tell by the accent. And yeah, the amount of times I've been investigating in woods with other people, and there have been fox screams, and you get, "Oh my God, what's that?" And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we know that. If you want to know more about screams, actually, you want to ask Kerry about when we investigated a fort, and all I did was say hello to her. Ask her about that.
No, we don't ask
Kerry.
him about that. No, we don't ask him about that. We move
said
swiftly
hello.
on, is what we do.
Oh,
He scared me a little, it's all I can say. And I don't get scared on investigations, but people jumping out at me is just, he nearly got a punch, that's all I can say. So, guys, how do you actually approach your investigations? Do you go in a very specific mindset of where you're going to investigate, or do you literally go in, see how you feel, pick up, your hot spots, as it were, and then set up accordingly?
It's a little bit of everything. So we come at things from the angle of trying to prove or disprove. So we'll go in, there's no mediums on the team, there's no... Donna and John are a little bit sensitive and we'll pick up on a bit more things. So whenever we go in, we will do a walk around the place just to see what it's like and try and fill in, whenever you do your research, try and find certain parts of where these things happen. You'll do a wee introduction to yourself, acquaint yourself with the spirit, so to speak, and then we'll use our equipment, we'll set up some equipment and just sort of go by the feeling of the place. If we feel like we're not getting anything somewhere, then we'll just move on.
that's like us, isn't it? We always go and have a walk round first, and then set everything up. But yourselves as investigators, some places you go to, and it's just the only thing you'll catch is a cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you see on TV where every single place you go to is, oh my God, it's haunted. Actually, no. I've had colder things in my teeth,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean,
And
I
as
think,
well, I think with, the TV, I think a lot of people have this fairy tale perception, and I think that's what you're trying to get at. And I think a lot of the word demon is thrown about so loosely, it is unbelievable.
Oh, tell me, yeah.
It's turned into a generic term, is what's happened with that word. And we've done shows on this before. It's what's happened is it's turned into a generic word, but actually it's come from a belief system perspective. So whenever anybody comes across any form of what we would say negative, such as anger or sadness or, any of those emotions that are not a positive emotion, it immediately seem to jump onto that it's demonic, and it's not. It's just that's how that spirit is like portraying how they're feeling. And it's very easy to misinterpret that from what you've seen on TV. But then the majority of seasoned investigators would never necessarily jump to that conclusion anyway. It's only really people that don't really investigate on a regular basis that would really jump onto that these days, I think, in my opinion.
I think
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one of the weirdest things we ever had to do was we were up in Epping Forest investigating which bit to do, because we've tried in Paranormal as well, and we do some of the things to them. Well, we actually did a walk in Epping Forest, and when we went up there, we were approached by the forest constables to say, "Oh, be careful! There's somebody escaped from somebody from prison there without his shoes on, wasn't there?"
Yes, there was.
In the middle of winter, and we just went, "Oh well," and went into the woods anyway.
do you know what I have found? See, like whenever you're explaining it to people, you say it so calmly. It's such a status quo for you, but you're telling people things that happened to you, and they're like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" And you went, "Well, I asked another question."
Yeah.
You know, you just sort of become numb to it in a way, you know.
Yeah. Did you guys do Crumbin Road Jail?
We've done it individually, not as a team. It's slightly harder to get into. You see, some locations over here will have resident teams. So, because it's privately owned, the owners get in certain teams, and then, you know, they'll swap it about just to keep it fresh. I mean, we would be the resident team in the Conway Mill in Belfast.
Yeah.
So we would. The jail is very good, but as you say, you know, things don't happen on demand. You know, I went with, it was probably one of the first ones I ever went on. Went with my brother, and we just booked the tickets, turned up, and only 2 other guys turned up, and then there was, you know, the team that were hosting it, which was good because you don't have big, massive groups, you don't have the energy getting drained, you know, it's more controlled.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
We were in the hospital, and we were doing some glass work, and my little brother, he takes after his older, better-looking brother, me, decided to, you know, show a bit of bravado. He went down to do a lone vigil in one of the rooms. We're in the hospital area, and he was in, like, would have been an operating room at the time. There was a REM pod there. So we were doing glasswork, and we were shouting out for a nurse, and we were getting good feedback off the glasswork, and the glass started going really fast. And the girl at the time, Sabrina, she was shouting out and calling for a nurse. "We need a nurse, we need a nurse." And all we heard was the biggest scream and the foot coming up the corridor, and it was my little brother. The REM pod had run off, and it absolutely scared the life out of him. Any macho-ness he had, he lost that night. But what he said was, see, as the REM pod went off, it scared him, and then when it went off again, he went to run out of the room, but he hit the door frame with his shoulder, right? And he thought this was something trying to hold him back. So I know you're not allowed to swear in this show, but all he heard was, "Oh!" expletive, and then he came running up the corridor. Oh, it was so funny.
And a change of underwear was needed.
Oh, had to throw his socks out and everything. That's how bad it was.
Oh my goodness. So, how many sensitives do you have on your team, or mediums? Do you work with those kind of energy?
We don't have any mediums, and we would like to get one. So if there's anybody in Belfast who's actually very good at it, get in touch. Now,
if you were over here, we could point Kerry your way.
Oh, I'm not a medium. How many times do
I
I
you were
keep
small,
telling you
really.
this? I know I'm a small, but I'm not a medium.
We would have 3 sensitive. Keith would be a bit sensitive, and not just emotional, you know, the spirits.
I was waiting for that.
Donna and John.
Nicole.
Is Nicole sensitive?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. There's 4 or something. I didn't know Nicole as well.
Okay.
We would do a lot of public events.
Wow.
So some of the public would be a little bit sensitive.
Yeah.
So which is quite good. The last public event we did, was for the Call My Mill, because we're a non-profit organisation, so anything we do either goes to the building or for a charity. One of the guys, he was very hard of hearing, but he was sensitive, so I don't know if that sort of feeds into, it heightens his other senses, but he was telling us that, there was a guy there, so we were using the equipment. We had the REM pod and a mail meter as well, had them spaced out, and we're just based on what that guy was saying, we were getting hits on the equipment, so things were going off on demand when they hadn't been off all night.
Oh, right, okay.
Which was pretty good. We actually had as well, in the mill, there's fire doors in the corridor, and it's, like the fire doors in school, they used to be really heavy and you used to have to push them, but you hear it's almost like a paper sound, between the doors. You heard that being pushed up just ever so slightly and then closed again.
Ooh, okay.
It's amazing. Or there was another time in the mill, it was on the same floor but at the opposite end of the corridor.
Yeah.
In the corridor, they have sensor lights, so whenever you walk in, the lights go on and then they go off. Okay? So we were all sitting in the room talking, and we were organising a charity event with another team, and the door opened, but it must have opened about, I'd say, 7 or 8 inches. And we all turned around and looked, seen the door just opened, and then it closed. So Donna got up, went to look out, and as Donna opened the door, none of us realised the light was off. Then she put her head out, and then the light went on. And we were like, that light should have been on if there was someone out there.
Doors on one of them bars, it closed shut again, doesn't it?
And then it opened again. But it opened a bit wider the next time. And the light still wasn't on.
Oh, I tell you what, if you guys, in all seriousness, if ever you're over here in the UK and in either Kerry's neck of the woods or you're up in Yorkshire, give us a shout and I'll see what we can do to take you on an investigation.
Cool. Great.
That's fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, no worries, mate. No worries.
The offer.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll be over there sometime because we have said we want to do a trip to Ireland and do quite a few places over there, so...
Do you know what I was going to say? See if you can organise it in advance, because as you probably know, I'm a very busy man. We could try and organise to do a couple of places. There's a place in Offaly in the south of Ireland, Charvel Castle. See this place?
Yes, yeah.
This place has to be seen to be believed.
I'm sure we've heard of that, Charvel Castle. Sure, I looked it up.
Yeah, we have heard of it. Guys, let's just take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue listening to some of your stories and talk to you a little bit more about investigating.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Welcome back to the Dark Mirror Show. As you heard before the break, we have paranormal investigators Northern Ireland with us, and there's a few of them in the studio. Also with us is my colleague, my co-host, Mark Manley. Now, guys, we do actually have a live interactive chat room, which if you look on your screen, if you're listening live, there's a little widget down the bottom. Click on that, it'll bring the chat room up. So feel free to comment and join in the chat. Right, guys.
Leave my widget alone.
I'm not leaving no widgets alone. Okay, guys. Before, in the earlier part of the show, you talked about your preference for old type tape recorders over digital.
That's correct, yes.
I just wondered...
I believe that.
I just kind of was wondering a little bit more about that, really, why you preferred that and the results you actually got from that.
Yeah, well, I find that the old tape recording is better because the digital recording, it picks up a lot of dust. and the tape recording doesn't pick up as much dust. That's why I prefer using them.
Also, sorry to interrupt you, Mark. Also, because we would work off, the electromagnetic theory. So with the tapes, we would think it would be reasonable to assume that the Spur would be able to manipulate that tape a lot easier than it would something digital.
Good boys and girls.
They're answering the right questions, even if the girls are hiding there going, "No, Jesus, I'm not saying a word."
No, I like that thought pattern actually, and I'll tell you why. There was an experiment called the Skulls experiment. Do you remember that?
Yep.
No, I haven't heard of that one. Go
You've
for
not
it.
heard of the Skulls experiment? Well, look it up because it's really interesting. And what they used to do is they used to put some tape into, I believe it was actually more of a film that they used to put into a box, and then they got impressions imprinted onto this. And it was alleged that it was to do with the type of tape that the spirits found it easier to manipulate onto rather than digital. So it kind of resonates in my head when you say that. But I always thought there was a lot more static that you would, or hiss that you would pick up on a old style tape recorder rather than a digital.
No, I would differ from that there. I actually believe I don't pick up any sort of hissing noise on the recorders I use.
Okay.
If there is, then we can clean that up anyhow, If anything has came through on, it's been pretty clear.
Okay.
And the things that we've caught, we've looked over them and checked them all and run them by the whole team individually and see what they thought of it. And we all come to one conclusion that we find it is better to use them. Now, don't get me wrong, I have digital video recorders, but I basically put them in different parts of an area that they're wireless ones, so we can keep an eye on them.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm
So, do you then transfer from the tape onto like an MP3 to then listen to through your, your headphones and stuff?
Yes, we do indeed. We transfer everything onto it, onto MP3 or onto one of the hard drives, and by a converter, and we would listen to it and we would watch the screen. There would be probably about 5 or 6 of us would come down. We'd sit there one night, we'd sit there and watch everything. And then John, who's not here, he's down Charlieville Castle at the moment. He would usually take it home and go over and he would write down times that he would think and research it that way. Then we would go back and check it all.
Yeah.
There's been many an argument had with me over things. I'd be like, nah, I don't think so. Other guys are adamant that it is something. I'd be like, nah.
Would you say then, Anthony, that you're probably the most sceptical of the group? Or cynical? Are you sceptical or cynical?
I would probably say more cynical because I do believe and I have seen stuff. I have experienced things. But one thing I've learned from doing this is I've learned how to explain so much more to people. Like, if I'm sitting in a house with my girlfriend and something happens and she go, what's that? Was it? And you're like, no, just calm yourself, chicken. It's only floorboards or something like that. So, like I said at the start, for me it had to be something definitive, something that's almost indisputable. Because a lot of the times, when you put things up, you'll get people who'll troll and say, oh no, it's this, oh no, it's that. And people are entitled to their opinion, but, we just want to prove or disprove something. And I think a lot of the stuff that we put up is, in my eyes, stuff that I don't think we can explain.
Yeah, I've had a look at some of your stuff, and some of it's quite interesting indeed. And I see exactly what you mean, because, I'm the tech guy for our one, but I'm also the class clown of our lot as well. I do take the mick a lot. But I do tend to find that when you go on a lot of investigations, you will get the can't mention the TV program, but you will get the fans who every single thing, and you're like, no, and you know yourselves, 99.9% of everything you can disprove. And it's really nice when you get that one bit where you go, wow, and it doesn't matter what you do, you can't disprove it.
It makes sitting in the cold for hours on end and driving a couple of 100 miles worth it.
Exactly. I mean,
the holy grail.
We did a investigation in an old dance studio that's built over a drained witch's ducking pond. And we were looking on the digital stills, and it was a weird coloured orbs, wasn't it? There was 2 black orbs that kept following us. And I checked the camera, and it wasn't the camera, and I took some photos from a different digital camera, and they were still there. And they actually followed us from room to room to room at the top, down to the bottom where the electrical cupboards were. And I disproved the stuff that everybody was seeing in the hallway, because basically there was really high EMF coming through the wall, so that's what that was. But down in what was now the toilets, we put an EMF pump, an EM pump down on the floor, and just took loads and loads of stills, and you could see these 2 black orbs hovering around this EM pump going down towards it, and they'd followed us from room to room to room, gone down there, and we went through all the equipment. There wasn't a fault in the equipment, and it was one of those moments where you go, wow,
Yeah. You see, when it comes to the orb, now this is just a personal thing for me, I'm not a massive believer in them. See, unless they have, I would class an orb as something that's a bit more elongated and almost has shape, or it's trying to have shape. A lot of circle things, I would just discard them out.
Most orbs are dust or insects anyway. So.
Yeah.
I think when you get the light refraction on them and they come up as like glowing white orbs.
That's the way I go back to the digital and the ordinary tape recorders, video recorders, and on the video tape recorders, you don't pick up any of that sort of stuff, but on the digital you pick a lot of stuff up. And I have anything that I've seen on tape recorders that come show itself or whatever, I could sort of really have a good look in it and see if it is actually an orb or is it's dust. But more likely 99% of the time it would be an orb. Do you understand me? Because the digital would show up a lot of dust.
See, I have to say I'm a complete disbeliever of the orb phenomena. I'm going to put it out there. I've looked into that quite extensively, and I would go as far as saying that any orb is not spirit activity at all, but that's my personal opinion.
I agree.
That's my personal opinion. From what I've researched and what I've read about on various, like the SPR, the ASAP sites and stuff like that, and that's just my opinion. I'm more fascinated by, like you say, proper shapes more than anything else than an orb. But that's my personal opinion. But even that is subject. It's very, very difficult to say anything we capture on anything is activity. It's so difficult. There are so many factors that you need to take into consideration, and it's incredibly difficult. Now, EVPs, let's talk about EVPs, because you've captured quite a few quite good ones, haven't you?
Yep.
What was the clearest one and where?
The clearest one is the one I was telling you about before, about the devil worshipping hall. We've got one there. I don't know if you've listened to them there. There's one I put on loop. On a loop. When you actually drop the speed down on it, take it to half speed, it actually says, "You really don't want me there." Now, to me, it was very, very clear, and any sort of EVPs I got from there was clear. Now, saying that, we've had very clear ones in Conway Mill.
I was just about to say Conway Mill. You had a few, didn't you?
Yes, well, a lot up there, up round by Conway Mill in the attic drying room. along the floors, and in the jail, there's like a mock-up jail over there. That we got actually Rob Demarest. He actually got one there. He was doing verse recording when he was over. He was actually doing recording in the jail. He picked up a good one. Now nobody else knew about this person, as name he was called. The fellow was killed in there. He was shot point blank in the face back in the Troubles, and his name was The Knight. But Rob Demarest actually picked that up, and he asked who it was, and he says, "I am the Knight."
And do you know what makes that so good as well? See where he caught it? It used to be a bar on the grounds of the mill, okay? Now, it was added after the original building, but now it's not a bar. There's like a museum for Irish history and a fake or a model jail cell of one of the prisons in Northern Ireland used to have. So there's no remnant of what it used to be. And that guy who was shot in the bar, to be honest with you, unless Rob lived here for years and researched it, there's very little people know about that.
I like it because I used to do all the research for the places we go, but I wouldn't ever tell anybody until afterwards. And it was really, when you get that moment when somebody picks up and tells you something that you've actually researched that there's no way they could have researched, and you're there going, really, like that moment.
Or you get something on your voice recorder that verifies your research, which is sort of what the guys are saying, really. It is those kind of moments, isn't it?
Indeed. There's, for instance, there's a lot of people out there don't like using apps on phones or tablets or whatever. Yeah. Now, I wasn't a big fan of them, but there's some apps there now at the moment. We would use one called Echovox.
Mm-hmm. I've used that. Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, we were using one. We were using this doing a charity event for cancer research UK, and we were using the Echovox that night. We had the Echovox going in the building. We had the Echovox going in Glen Ravel Graveyard, just across from it, and it came up with some good stuff. The stuff that was unexplainable. But then it started speaking French. All right. Now, what we done, we researched it there, and there was actually French soldiers incarcerated there.
Wow.
So I think apps, I believe in apps that work,
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one of the best apps that we use, you guys are welcome to use it, it's by VBE. And as you can see, I've got my camera on so you can see this, but unfortunately our listeners can't. And it's basically a Simon Says.
Right.
Yeah? And it's all done by the sensors. And if you're out on a flat ground, you say, anybody here, press whatever colour. And we had it go off at the True Crimes Museum. And I've used it in a few places. And it does work. And you can test it. If you just rock it or whatever, it will go off. So you put it in a place where obviously floorboards can't disturb it, and then you call out. And we've had quite a few hits with it. Very useful, that one. I use that one quite a bit.
See, my opinion on apps is I'm still at, my jury is still out on this one, because I'm trialling a couple of prototype apps for a friend of mine, Brian Holloway, at this moment in time. And on certain levels it's interesting, and on other levels I've managed to sort of it's questionable, and I find apps incredibly difficult to actually get my head around how spirit interact with them. If there are spirits, I find that leap quite problematic for myself. What do you think, guys?
I would agree with you on that. I mean, personally, I can't stand Echovox. I just don't buy into it. So
I'm waiting for him to say that, actually.
Keith likes it, a couple of other guys like it. I don't. We've seen some of the apps that Brian has. Mm-hmm. I've seen some things on them. It actually looks quite good. I would be on the side that you'd be on. That how can a spirit make that jump? I could buy into a tape. If the spirit knows that technology, if it's come up through that technology, with films and tape recordings, the spirit may have an understanding of that, from their time on Earth, so they learn to manipulate that. But if you're talking a spirit from over 100 years ago, to them, a big clunky piece of plastic with a lens on it and a little slot memory card, how would they know how to manipulate that? That's part of the reason I think the tape works for us, because the spirits know how to manipulate that tape because they're familiar with tape.
Yeah, I get you.
I understand where you're coming from, but even tape is quite modern compared to 100 years ago.
Yeah, but you're quite correct there. But as I was saying, people, you've got ghost boxes and things like that there. I'm not really a big fan of ghost boxes, but if spirits can manipulate a ghost box, or spirit box, whatever you want to call it, there should be no reason why they can manipulate an app or an app on a phone which is giving out words.
Yeah, I get you. Well, I mean, to be absolutely fair, Kerry's so old and stuck in the mud. When we go on investigations, she takes along a slate and a chalk, so...
I'm not that old-fashioned. I work with crystals and minerals in the paranormal field, so I don't kind of use tech, really. That I leave that down to Mark to use, and because I just like to feel the energy and feel that's how I work in the field.
Well,
so
Kerry,
what I do is completely way out compared to things.
I would use dowsing myself. I would use a lot of dowsing, like dowsing rods and pendulums and stuff like that too, and I find it is quite effective.
Pendulums I can use, dowsing rods I can't, because as you can see, if I try and use them, I drop one. So it's for those of you who can't see, I've got one hand, so I drop them all the time.
I use different techniques other than just dowsing. I use all sorts of crystals in different ways in the paranormal field, but that's just how I work, and it's that's just how I do it in the paranormal field. Let alone so I can't criticise anybody because I'm still trying to work out whether or not what I do makes an effect in the field. So I'm not criticising anybody for what they do. I'm just literally trying to do my thing in the field to try and help bridge the gap between the spiritual and the physical and work out why that happens. That's the journey I've taken, is the why. I am always searching for the why does that happen? Why does that work? Why does spirit interact in that way? Why can they do this? How can we improve that? How can we bridge that gap better? And I don't know about you guys, but have you found your whys have got more the more you've investigated?
Say that last part again. How's our what?
How your whys, why certain things happen in certain ways. Have you found yourself researching that more and learning more about things?
Yes. I think the most important tool on an investigation, and it's something that we as humans now are becoming more disconnected with, is our own physical body. Mm-hmm. We're so caught up in electronics that I personally sometimes think to myself, is all these electro waves interfering with how we sense and feel things? People nowadays come up in such a soft world, in the sense, people have to have quiet rooms. I'm 29, so I was like the last of the outdoors generation, and I find a lot of people younger than me, they don't have like an emotional connect with their body.
Yeah.
So if you aren't listening to your own body, your own intuition, instinct, gut feeling, spiritual guidance, whatever you want to call it, if you can't listen to that and you have to relate through a picture on Instagram, like a meme or something like that, to get your fulfillment, I think we need to go back.
I agree.
Listen to your body, learn to breathe, and be in control and do what you feel rather than what people expect you to feel or think.
I agree.
I mean, when we've done some, and Kerry's very good at doing pendulum work and doing human pendulum. And I use chi because I teach martial arts, and I use chi in it a lot. And we've done one with me pushing the chi in as well, haven't we? Mm-hmm. And apparently it works very well. And they can feel it a lot. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I know so many teenagers. One of my kids themselves who's super glued permanently to a phone and memes and this, that, and the other, and it's just like. My other daughter goes, not me. She's a country girl, but yeah, one of my daughters is just, you ask her things and can you feel that and can you feel that, and I've taken them to the woods to investigate and stuff like that, and no.
It's almost like a dumbing down. Do you not find it's almost like a dumbing down of what the energy is out there? You know, I don't know. I mean, I also look into a lot of the psychological effects that we can manipulate energy with from our own minds, and that plays a huge part in investigating. Do you not think that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, like that example I gave at the start, you know, the guy who was very hard of hearing, you know, he was telling us things you know, that we couldn't see, sense, or anything like that, and we were getting hits off it, and he was going based on listening to his own body, which I think is fascinating. You know, when you look back in time, people always wanted an explanation for something, whether it was the Roman gods, the Greek mythology, Christianity, Judaism. Yeah. Everything is led to spirituality, and a lot of places in the Eastern world, you know, they still center around spirituality. It's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with that, yeah. I mean, I use chi for getting rid of minor headaches and stuff, and for doing energy moves, and I've taken it away and taken it out and beating my daughter with and stuff. But I find it's very good, and there's a lot of stuff that we used to be able to do that, as you say, with the generations that are going up now, they just have no interest in it, and they're losing it, you know? It's a shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing I will say is, before we disappear, because we've still got about 10 minutes left, the people in the chat room are enjoying your stories. So if by any chance, sorry, you could spin us a bit more spiel on your stories, your favourite hauntings and everything like that, we appreciate it.
Right, well, listen closely. This is a very good story. This happened to me. And honestly, this is the God's honest truth over my own 5-year-old's life. We were in White's Tavern. We done a lot of public events there, and it's in the centre of, it's almost the centre point of Belfast. So, Belfast city centre was like docklands, okay? Right. So there was a lot of like canals, you know, like Amsterdam would be, or Venice. So there was a lot of waterways between all the bars. Now, White's Tavern is the oldest bar in Northern Ireland, okay? Yeah. We're doing some glasswork, and there used to be, obviously with being a port, there used to be a lot of prostitutes and a lot of drinking, things like that. Yeah. So we thought we were getting through the spirit of one of these girls, one of the ladies of the night. Yeah. So being the best looking one in the group, I thought to myself, you know, I'll try my luck. So I took money out of my pocket. I had some notes in my pocket, and I was, you know, asking out how much for your services, how much for the night, blah, blah, blah.
You want to go to chance, didn't you?
Well, I was hoping to get the Willies put up something, but that's a different matter. So we was doing the glasswork. We were sort of getting some interaction, and I thought, right, I'll come off the glasswork, went to the other end of the room to use the bathroom. Now, it's a very small bathroom. You walk in, the door closes straight away. So that draft goes very quickly. You've got a sink, you've got a urinal, and then you've got the cubicle. There's a little small window, but it was closed. Okay? So I went to the urinal, went to do a pee, and from my right-hand side, across my groin, and down in between my legs, I had, it was, you could almost feel an arm. It was the cold breeze. It felt like something was reaching around. And
you were groped by a spirit, basically, is where you were going with this,
reach
isn't
around
it?
for a fiver.
Yeah.
to that spirit, though, if you think.
I had jumped a mile. If I'd been in the loo and fell that, I'd have been like, what the fuck?
I got stage
Well, that
fright.
made my day.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just too many jokes there, and I can't do them because I'll get chopped off the radio.
I know.
Yes.
Carry
on,
see if
sorry.
I'll just read a short here. What's up? Do you have a story?
Any sort of story?
A ghost story, preferably?
Let me think.
Don't be making one up.
Let me have a think. Good story. Well, I'll tell you, my first. I'll do one for my first ghost experience I had. I was 17 at this point, and I'm doing Duckett's Grove. And this was one of my first sort of proper investigations I've ever did.
Yeah.
And Duckett's Grove, it was this old mansion, but there was a big fire, so it's all hollowed out now. But they've got cellars underneath.
Yeah.
And I had a Zoom with me, and I was listening live at this point. So I went to one of the cellars, and I went to one of the corners, and I sat down. Now, when I was sitting down in the corner, I could hear footsteps walking around, and they were getting closer and closer to me at this point. And I had my hand out. And just out of the blue, the footsteps had stopped right in front of me. And my hand got shoved. I could feel the cold grasp on my hand. It shoved it back towards me, which freaked me out.
Yeah, I would imagine it would.
And I sat there for like an extra 10, 20 minutes, and I decided to move further down into the kitchen area. But the footsteps kept following me as well.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was going to say, and what did you make of it? Did you find out what it was, or whether it was just a ghost that was incredibly attracted to you, like it did the last gentleman in the toilet? Aye, you know.
Well, see, I'm not that lucky. He tends to get all the women.
The ones that are dead.
Yeah. Even the dead ones don't want me.
And I'll bet when that happened in like Flynn, yes.
Can I tell you one quick one before we go?
Go on, give us a quick
Hey, go on then.
So it's in Charleville Castle, okay? There's the ghost of Lady Harriet. She was one of the daughters of one of the earls, and it's massive. There's like about 4 or 5 floors up. And what she was doing, she was told to go and wash up for dinner or something like that. She had to wash up. She was coming down. She used to slide down the banisters. Now, she fell off one of the banisters and fell to her death, unfortunately, at the bottom of the stairs. We were doing an event down there with Spook Troop Tours, and we were walking downstairs. John got his camera, took a couple of photos, didn't think anything of it, and it wasn't until he was looking over it. There's a photo on our Facebook page. You'll see it. And there's one side by side. When you look at the bottom of the stairs, in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the manifestation of something about 4 or 5 footsteps away from where Lady Harriet fell, and we believe that was Lady Harriet. Talking to Gillian from Spook Troop Tours, she was the medium, the leader of the group. She says it was her.
Yeah.
And
I'm just looking at your photos now.
You'll see
Is
that
it the one
beside-
looking down a staircase?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
For any guys listening, you can check their Facebook page out. I've just
Oh,
shared
yeah.
the link into our chat room. And so check the guys out over there. We are now a minute to go. So is that wrapped up, that story?
Yeah. And you know what, guys? I think we've just about had enough of you, so we're going to go.
I was just about to say, if you'd like, we'd love to have you back on again, because I'm sure you've got many more stories. And probably next time, Kerry will be a little bit drunker, so it'll be even better fun. Yeah.
Oh,
Sound good?
not
That's
fun
great.
enough for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, if you want to come back on again, you're more than welcome.
And once again, I'd say from all the members of the team that can't be here, thank you very much for having us on your show.
No problem at all. You guys have been absolute stars. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Stay on the line, though. Stay on the line, though, guys, because we'll talk after the show. Just to wrap the show up, thank you all for listening. It's been an absolute blast listening to the stories from the Paranormal Investigators Northern Ireland. Next week, Mark, we are going back to our little mini-series that we seem to be doing at this moment in time, which is Planes, Trains and Automobile Hauntings, isn't it?
Yeah, which one are we doing next week?
We're going to wrap that up next week because I'm getting a bit fed up with planes, trains and automobiles. Anyway.
Can we do the trains?
We will do trains, yes. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show for tonight. And don't forget, we have shows going out at 9 o'clock every single night of the week. If you miss a show, it goes to podcast afterwards. So feel free to listen to any of our back shows. You can listen through Spreaker or you can listen through our YouTube channel. Anyway, don't forget to join our Facebook page and our Facebook group page as well for all the latest news and updates on shows from Parasearch UK Radio. Thanks very much for listening and farewell.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.